find a counselor, a dean, we're kind of all around throughout everything. We very much try to be. So you just let them know, like, hey, I have a consequence issue that we need to take care of, a discipline issue, and we'll either do it immediately or say right after this or whatever. So let us know right away. Then meet with the camper as soon as possible with the dean. So that meeting, ideally, it won't always, but ideally would include the camper, the counselor that was involved with them during the discipline, or at least one step along the way, and the dean. Sometimes, it's just us and them, but if possible, it really works well and gives authority to you guys because they know, oh, I'm here because Mr. Lewis made sure I got to this consequence stage, and we can back you guys up big time there. And then we'll refer back to the discipline card, so we can say, look, man, we've talked about this, there's other options, even if it wasn't the same thing before. Make sure to go over a list of other things they could have done. So we'll still kind of be going over the discipline card in terms of giving them other options, but we won't fill out another one. Why didn't they do what they said they would do next time? The camper will receive a consequence. The deans will work with the camper on the service project, helping the camper understand the connection between their action and their consequences, making sure that the camper knows that the next step for them is to be sent home. Okay? One really important thing to emphasize is, again, most of the time, if a kid breaks a rule again, it's not going to be a send home kind of situation. So one really, really, really important thing for all the counselors to know is that you never threaten sending a kid home. I'm never going to threaten sending a kid home. I'm going to talk to Jason and Kelly before I would even bring that up. So I know sometimes you get super frustrated. You're like, if you do that again, you're going home. That is just really, really unhelpful because you don't want to send kids home most of the time, and we're only going to do that if it's really serious enough. And so the dean's excluding me because I don't want to. We'll be making that decision.
What about if I said, well, if you do it again, I'm going home? Somebody got to go.
If they respond the way they would to me, they'd be like, all right, see you.
But that you're not following this rule because you're hurting somebody else on the face of the earth because they're struggling then.
And then anything from there, the going home stuff will happen between Kelly, Ashley, Jason, and myself talking through, and we'll still talk with you. Hey, what happened? How bad was the fight? What's any stuff like that? Have they been responding to this? And then if there needs to be a formal warning or a call home or whatever, we will talk about that. But again, don't even threaten a call home or things like that. It'll be best for in the heat of the moment. I've said a lot of things, that you really so.
So they should be clear though that the next step there is everyone like once they meet with you. Do you guys say that to them, or you just say?
It would depend what it is. If it's fighting, yeah, maybe we would say that then. If it's like a extreme bit, if it's like wandering off, like one time and then the other time is nap time, and like it's like really, really like blatant disobedient respect, putting people and themselves in the camp behavior type stuff that was happening.
Yeah, so and that's why it's not. It kind of breaks down at that bottom level. Because at the bottom one, it's just going to have to be case by case because it's that kind of the kids that are repentant and are really trying and they're doing better every day, but they still mess up because they're just so not used to it. We can work with that better than the kid who's just like
they can know another service project that's coming.
Right, yeah. And so then, real quick, the idea is then that after that service project that we have, then they go through the loop again. So that's why it kind of is like a loop with 1 through 3, and then like if eventually they go around enough times, then if it's serious enough or whatever, they go home. So then after that, once they've done their service project, we let you, then you go right back to it again. Like you can be like, all right, brother, you got a fresh slate. Let's do it now. You know what I mean? And then you say, all right, this is your formal warning. Okay, we're doing a discipline card. You already did it. You know where it's going, right? And then the same process.
Yep.
Well, shouldn't the kids know that they could be sent home?
We will probably make that clear at the beginning that is, that we do have the power to send them.
Yeah, we're letting parents know that too, and
Yeah,
that's
a lot of the kids know that before they come.
I think what we're trying to say especially is there shouldn't be that if you do this, then you will be sent home. We don't want to tie ourselves to,
We don't want to use it as a threat.
But yeah, you're right. We do want to make it very clear that that's an option, that they don't have to do that. So, we just skip around. Okay, so this is just nothing like, I'm a really bad actor, and actually probably almost as bad as me, but just to give an example of how this would.
Somebody got a use center key to Dallas. Can you just quick, bring it right back? He dropped some stuff in there.
Yeah.
This is
They can wait till it's over.
Yeah, we're starting over. So this is just, yeah, sure. So this is an example. This is Johnny, and I'm a counselor, okay? So, all right, guys, it's quiet time. Remember that during quiet time, you don't have to, so this is, again, making your things clear, you don't have to be sleeping, but we have at least, I forget what it is, but we'll term, there's got to be at least 15 minutes where it's quiet so that people can sleep if they want. If you want to be in your game, if you want to do something in your bunk, you can read your Bible, you can do that, but you need to be quiet, okay? All right, guys, time starting now.
So this is my bed, this is my neighbor's bunk.
Okay, now realistically, you'd be like, actually, remember in your bed, okay? Like, you're going to give those whatever type things, and then she continues doing that. Ashley, or Johnny, or whatever. I'm so glad you're here. I love that you're having a good time. But this is quiet time. You need to be in your bunk for 15 minutes, okay? Let's go in your bunk, all right? Okay. Remember, this is your reminder. If we're having more trouble, we're going to go to the warning card, okay? Can you do this for me, Johnny?
Sure.
All right, man. Awesome, brother. Great. Sweet, okay? So now, and then you're good again.
The same room?
Yeah.
I'll just stay here this time.
And here's this clear disobedience thing.
Hey, come here, listen.
John, I gave you a formal reminder before.
I
I
told
told
you
you
to
that
be
it's
quiet.
quiet time, okay? Come here, we're gonna step outside really quick, assuming that there's other people around.
He was talking to me.
We'll talk outside. Let's go, come on. Okay. We're gonna be, again, you always want to be with someone, so normally let's say there's a dean outside that's kind of off to the side so they know, or if you pull in the corner, you don't want them in there because the kids there. But, so we're in an open public space, sitting down. Okay. Ashley, you broke the rule twice. Do you remember what it was that you were doing that's not allowed?
He was talking to me.
Okay, but what did you do that wasn't allowed? Do you remember?
I kissed the bed.
Okay, and when did you do that?
I did during quiet time.
During quiet time, okay? And so, again, I'm not the greatest at this, but you're trying to give them leading questions, help them see, okay, so we're going to fill this out. So what did you do? You kicked the bed while it was quiet time, right? Okay. And did I give you a reminder about that or not?
Yeah, you told me that.
Okay, and what did you do after that?
I kicked the bed again.
And what are we doing now? We're filling out a discipline card. Okay, so again, you're still keeping it light, hopefully, let them know, like, hey, we're so glad you're here, man, but we need to, I really don't know how to talk to girls and like little girls or big girls or anything. I don't know how to say,
That's why I'm John.
I only know how to say man, bro. Okay, when you did that, what did you want?
I wanted to talk to him.
Okay, and I can this is like, again, on my greatest list, and I can understand, Johnny, like, I want to talk to people too, but what time was it when you wanted to talk to them?
Bedtime.
Okay, or quiet time, right? Okay, so actually, you gotta understand, you got a lot of stuff to do at camp, there's a lot of fun we're gonna have, so recently with quiet time, so that you can have some time to rest, or even if you don't need it, so other people can, okay? So I understand it's tough, but that's why we just gotta be quiet then, okay? So what are some other things that you could have done?
I can't talk without using my mouth, so I don't really know.
Okay, let's think about this. What are some things that you have in your backpack? This is what we're talking about. What are some things you have in your backpack, actually, that you might be able to use?
Oh, I have that cool camp book.
Oh yeah, this is a cool camp book. Who made that again? I forget. We're making that as we do, okay? Okay, so you could use your camp book. Okay, what else could you do? Are there any memory verses you're working on?
Could I use sign language?
Okay, I think we might be able to use that. Maybe say no, because yeah, you can practice it on your own, okay? As long as you're silent, but no talking at all, okay? Let's see if we can think of two more things.
I could have waited until afterwards and talked to him.
Okay, that's great. And you think you could maybe just close your eyes and try it?
Probably not.
Okay.
I could just stare at the board going and imagine what the things are.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Awesome. Perfect, okay? So actually, which one of these do you want to do next time?
Use my book.
Okay, sounds good. I'll write that in. One of us will do it depending on their age and ability. Okay, actually, you can make it really clear. Okay, we're about to go back in. Really think you can do it. But if we have a problem with you breaking this rule or another one again, there's going to be a consequence.
Yeah, but what?
Do you know what consequence is?
Well, it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, it's not good, okay? You're going to have to go and see this.
Do you know that my mom?
Mr. Neil or Mr. Jason or Mr. Ashley or Mr. Kelly. You don't want to mess with her. So, yeah. So it's going to be safe. Remember, you got to follow the rules, and if you don't, it's really not going to want to have that, okay? So do you think, Johnny, you'll be able to do better this time?
How long is your quiet time over?
Okay, I think it's like 5 minutes or whatever. Okay. Can we pray for you, Johnny, before you head back in a minute? okay, you think you can do this? Again, if it was a boy, I'd be like, shaking him up, do my arm around, you think you can do this? And you're like, okay, you sure? Okay. Get him back in there, we'll pray and we'll head back in, okay? So that's just an example, okay? Again, and I should be even, emphasize more. Remember, as we're going back in, okay? So we go back in. Now let's say Johnny does a great job. Johnny Ashley, that's his name, Johnny Ashley. So I go back between, okay? And then we fast forward later throughout the day. Okay, this is a totally different situation. It's been 3 hours, or even the next day. Okay, so let's say it's the next day. Next day, Ashley, Johnny, we're on our way to the pool, okay? And Ashley is not. All right, guys, we're heading to the pool. Hey, Ashley, you go up the group. We gotta head up to the pool.
Nah, I'm going this way.
Ashley, come on, you remember this?
I can go this way faster.
Okay, now this is like a clear, disobedience kind of thing. So we say, all right, Ashley, come here. We make sure that the group is with you. You come over. Okay.
You're not my dad. Don't touch me.
Wow. All right, Ashley, come here. So whatever we do, I either follow over there and say, okay, Ashley, or sometimes it's going to be best to be like, all right, I'm waiting for you, and you come to me. We can talk. Until then, I'm going to wait, or whatever the idea. When you're ready to go, we can go. But then again, I don't know. The best thing to do is that specific situation, play it by ear. But then we say, all right, Ashley, what did I tell you last time when we were at quiet time when we filled out this discipline card? What does it say at the bottom?
I can't read.
Okay. Well, it says there's going to be a consequence, okay? Do you know what you did this time? Why was going to be a consequence? What was the problem?
I don't know. You shouldn't touch me. You're not my dad.
Okay, I'm not going to touch you, okay? But when we were going to pool time, what were you doing, Ashley?
I was going too. I just was going that way.
Okay, but what did I ask you to do?
Go that way.
Okay. And did I say it like real mean or anything? Was I yelling at you? Probably shouldn't even, okay. But I was trying to say it real nice, so I'm with you, Ashley, but you know what? You really got to follow these rules, and I told you next time there'd be a consequence, okay? So we're going to have to go talk to Miss Kelly, all right?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good.
It's not Miss Ashley. This is
Okay, so then we'll go and talk with Miss Kelly, and then I'll be like, I'm done, Kelly. Okay. I'll give her, explain the situation. Sometimes it might be better for me to pull Kelly aside or pull one of us aside beforehand. So this could be any one of us, Ashley, Kelly, Jason, or myself, and pull them aside maybe and say like, hey, just, here's the situation, this is what happened, little huddle while there, and then we go and pull them back out and stuff. Okay? Yes, sir.
Before that, though, you would have talked to if you were the captain council, you would have talked to the team council.
Yeah,
Or you
absolutely.
would have talked to, if you're not the senior captain council, you would have talked to the senior captain council.
Yeah, I would say if it's the second.
Oh no, I was just gonna say hopefully you would have known what went on before that. Like he would have known from the captain counselor that I had an issue, so that the next thing would be to go to the dean.
Right.
I wouldn't have to go talk to them again, because the next step is just go to the dean. If that's what you're asking.
No, just that both the senior cabin council and the senior team council need to go.
So after I filled out the discipline card and took Ashley Johnny back in, then I should have said, hey, yeah,
Should probably talk to like one of the deans or to the cabin counselor.
yeah, right, or to Lewis. Hey, Lewis, just, this is what happened, the issue we're having, or whatever. Yeah.
So if you're a senior cabin counselor, it would be good to let your other cabin team people know too.
Yes, absolutely. Communication.
Yeah. Communication's an important thing.
So do you need to show like you guys when you're going out?
We're just going to bring the kids to you. We'll bring the car.
When we absolutely need to have it is when something has happened again and you're needing to bring kids to us. So it's a great time to bring your car to us and explain the situation. We'll talk and then we'll be like, okay. Sometimes it'll be right then, you can go get that camper and we can talk and have that little meeting. Sometimes it doesn't work for it to happen right then and it might happen a little later. But yeah, bring it up. That's when you bring the car to us. And it comes from being in your hands to be your consequence.
Right. But so you don't actually have to bring the card until, we're actually at that action step 3, but it's never, again, I think the whole thing is communicate everything all the time. So, hey, I know Elizabeth is having a problem and I really don't know her too well, but I know Renee knows her. So I say, hey, Renee, just a heads up, you know what I mean? Maybe you can really encourage her, she'll probably respond. Or, hey, Neil, I know that you hang out with, Christian from Mattress Read or whatever, and you come talk to him and give him some encouragement. Yeah, so it doesn't have to be, the action step. Hopefully it'll be kind of just fluid as we're going all the way through.
Probably one of the toughest things on the discipline card for the kids is those 4 questions, not the 4 questions, with listing 4 other options of what they could have done. Usually kids, especially kids in our neighborhood, don't think they have any other option. That never went through their minds. So this is like, what? I could have done something else? You kidding? Like, so that's the most difficult thing for them. They don't see that there's other choices they could have made. So that's a big spot where you're really going to have to help them out. If they're totally stumped, it's great to say, do you want to hear what other kids have tried? I wouldn't offer like, hey, do you want to hear what I would do? Because most kids don't. But if you phrase it as, do you want to hear what other kids have tried? They're usually pretty receptive to it. And you can throw some ideas out there. And maybe some of them, they say, oh yeah, I want to put that on the card. And some of them, they're just like, no, let's keep thinking. And that's fine, but do try to work through getting 4 options on there. It's so hard for them, but it's a great thing to think through. I didn't have to react this way. I could have done this, I could have done this, I could have done this, could have done this. Maybe they aren't all ideal. They might not all be good choices, but that's an opportunity that you guys get to talk through that. Then like, well, that would be great. I'm not so sure about number 2. I probably wouldn't try that here at camp. It might not work out that well for you. And what do you want to try next time? And number 4 says, what do you want to do next time? And that's an opportunity to talk through those 4 options and what they want to have as their choice. So.
And then just, actually, I'm just going to do just a really few quick ones, just to give an example, for instance, of how these, or I can even kind of just do them for you guys to just get a feel for like us wanting to say we want to extend grace with these things and try to look at the heart issue, right? So running down the hill is so let's say a kid's given a formal reminder earlier the day for being loud during quiet time, okay? So they already have a formal reminder. Now you're saying, should I give them a discipline card, okay? And so we're at the hill and he says, hey, look, right! Okay, and he runs down the hill. Do we pull him aside and give him a discipline card? Yeah or nay? What do you guys think? Yeah, thumbs up for yes, thumbs down for no. Like Jennifer, she's bold, Jen's bold, okay? I think we would say there, we'd say, no, we don't need to give them a discipline card. They're excited they ran down the hill after a rabbit because that's what boys do, and that's what I would probably do, and I'm probably with them. They're like, sorry, back up. So you can be, flexible with things like that, okay? There's a difference between that and, hey, look, I want to run down the hill. Miss Ashley says,
Hey, you gotta be careful. Please don't run.
whatever, I'll be fine.
Neil, don't run down the hill.
Okay. Discipline card, yes or no? Right, okay, there's obviously an instance of disobedience. So we're teaching them there about, the one, we're just reminding them of the rules. The other, we're giving them an opportunity to learn discipline with disobedience. Okay, same things with with some kids' language and stuff like that. If a kid, a bird swoops down and gets scared, they say like, oh, you know what I mean? I don't think you need to write up a discipline card for that because you're not necessarily teaching them discipline for, that's at least for me personally, I know some might be, but we're not going to be able to do the whole thing in 1 week, you know what I mean? So things like that, you say, hey man, you think there's a different way you can say that? But if it's like, hey, and that's enough with the mouth, I don't effing care, then we say, come on, let's go, discipline card. So just examples to try to look at the disobedience or just oblivious kind of thing.
Yeah, so you still address it. You don't
Right.
ignore it or whatever, but it's not with the card.
I think we need to be gracious with reminders, and when situations are different, give a reminder. Don't jump right to the card, give them a reminder, make sure they know what the rule is. It's a great chance to play stupid, even if you think that the kid is being difficult and sure they've got to know this by now in a week. That's when you get a chance to, you just be gracious, act like you don't think they're doing it on purpose, be like, hey, just so you know, at camp, this is our rule. Let's make sure we're doing that. I don't want to see you have to get a discipline card. I don't want to see you go to that. So, let's do a good job and remember that this is the rule we have at camp. Yeah.
And just something I read on this one paper that, just the idea that they don't have it's not vocabulary, but the backpack full of options or whatever, of things that they can do instead of the behavior that they've learned or used to, whether it's fighting or different things, somebody says something mean to you, you say something mean back. It's just interesting on this one thing. It says, for an example, we know a lot of different options of things that we can do. For something as simple as you slam your finger in the door, right? You know that you can cry, you can cuss, you can hit the car, you can be silent, you can kick the tire, you can laugh. you can like stoically or heroically open the car door and or you can groan. Like you have a lot of varieties of choices. Like if you're walking with Christ for a while, or if you're taught that way. But like it's like they would just be like, no, it hurts. So I started cussing, and then the closest person to me, I took it out on them, you know. So that's just an idea of like they don't have the, I don't know, you say a bag of tricks to pull out the responses to or whatever that we have, or the practice of that. So that's why we'll have to help them kind of with the options and think through those things for their food choices and stuff.
Do you guys have any, especially for those of you who have been there before, like issues that you foresee happening with the kids that you're like, how do you want to handle this when it comes up? You know, I know things that people brought up last year, like what do I do if a kid runs away from my group? And I'll just answer that now. Like if a kid's taking off running, don't chase them. Turns it into a game, and you don't want to get into that game. Do keep them in sight. There's a lot of ways to keep a kid in sight without them knowing that that's what you're doing. There have been a lot of times at camp where like I've stayed somewhere and tied my shoe because this person is off over here and I can see them out of the corner of my eye if I do that. There's been times where I've cleaned up trash that probably wasn't even there because they thought I was doing something and I wasn't following them. It was actually really funny one year because I was doing that, you know, trailing along behind a camper who had totally run away from his cabin. I think it was during rest time or something like that, so other people weren't even out and about. And I'm doing that, and every once in a while he'd go a little further and look back, and he'd see me, and he's like, and so he'd do it again, and go a little further, and he'd look back, and he finally got like halfway up to the athletic field, and he's just like, threw his hands up, and turned around and walked back to his cabin. But he's chasing me. And I went to him later, and later we had a conversation, you know, after he got back to his cabin, so it wasn't a chasing situation. We had a conversation about it, I didn't just let it go. But there's ways that you can follow kids and keep track of where they are without chasing them. So that would be my advice on that one.
Yeah, and if it's late at night, you don't have to be scared about them getting lost. Who said it? One of the counselors up there said, you know what, if it comes to it, we just turn off every light in the camp and leave the cabin light on. And they're going to come back because they're scared to death.
We've actually done that before.
So they've done that, you know, and it will work perfect with our kids because they're scared to death of the dark. They've never seen dark before. So.
They're scared of the woods when it's not dark, so they're not going to get too far.
So.
Same kind of situation if a kid is just walking away from, like Ashley was doing before, like I'm just walking away, you know, I'm not going with my group, like presumably you're not going to go. Because my temptation always is, well, I can just, you know, maybe I know this kid and I give them hugs or whatever, I can just like grab them and bring them back. Are we saying that's not our policy? Are we saying I'm just going to stand here and wait for you until you choose?
There's a difference in grabbing and bringing back. Like I experienced this even yesterday with Christy's son because I did that and exerted my power over him and stuff. But like, and just saying, hey, come on. And if they're, guide them back like that, that's fine. There's not like no touch policy or anything like that. You know, but that's different than
There's a difference between guiding someone back and forcing them back. It's just what you're saying something.
And if they're so belligerent that we need to force them back, you know, if they're just like standing in one place, for instance, you know, I have to do that.
Yeah. That would be a situation. Sometimes, it depends on the kid and it depends on the scenario. Sometimes walking away from them and making sure the rest of your group is away from them, and it's like you're turning your back and leaving, sometimes that's enough that they'll come because a lot of times what they're looking for is attention. So when you've removed all that tension from the rest of the campers and from yourself, you still know where they're at, they're still within eyesight of other people, like they're safe, they're fine. But sometimes when you walk away and just, you know, maybe you're archery and you head up a hill with the rest of your group, a lot of times you get 15, 30 feet, they're going to be like, well, this is silly and come after you.
Can you become overly excited about the next activity that you're going to do with the kid and just like announce it to them loud? Not to the person that's back there, but like, oh, come on guys, let's go play, whatever, you know, like, and
sometimes that works. If they're still being completely belligerent, not coming with your group, you know, you've tried, you know, walking away with everybody else and you see they're still hanging back there, that might be a time where you call one of us, and we'll come out.
And if you give the warning, then you get out that's when you just get out the car too. And if they're willing to stand there, then you just start filling that out right there with them. and say, okay, we have to fill out this, and that could snap them too, or it could make them sit down and be more stubborn, but then you have the card, and then you're still following the process through.
Yeah.
So then they'll think it's, in the end, they'll see that it's just because you went through all the steps still or whatever, instead of just directly, I told you to do this and do that.
I could follow that with one more question. Last year I had a girl who would not be doing this program, and she wouldn't say anything. Like she was, she was talking about something else, and she was just completely non-responsive. And I think in the end I did manage to get a response from her, but what's your suggestion in those cases?
Sometimes, if it's possible to give it time and to leave them just sitting for a while, find out type situation. Sometimes kids need a chance to cool off, and if it's a situation where a kid's upset, they're not able yet to process through things. And we got to remember that, like, kids are not adults, and they can't handle frustration the way we can. So sometimes just giving them a break and be like, you know what? Why don't you take 5 minutes? I'm going to come back, and we'll talk more then. I would try that first. So, and then come back. If they're still just absolutely refusing to talk about it, fill it out, whatnot, that's like, okay, that's like another issue in and of itself. And that's where it would go on to the deans, even though the card didn't get filled out. It would come out.
This is a discipline question, but what do you do when like a kid can't get his zipper up and like, stuff like that? Are you guys gonna go over that stuff? 'Cause that happens a lot. Like they use the restroom and then like it's so
If
it's
they come ask for
awkward
help,
like,
help them. Just make sure there's somebody else
Yeah,
around.
super public.
Like, don't ever do it in the, like, you might say, hey, come out here, or make sure there's another person, leader called, let another leader into the bathroom with you, or whatever. You can help them.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't just say a kid is zippered down and walk up to him and say, let me help you with that. I can tell when it's down, and then if they ask for help.
Another one that can happen from time to time, if you have a kid who's refusing to eat, a natural, logical consequence of that we will hold to at camp is that they don't get dessert if they didn't eat dinner. If they don't eat their meal, they don't get dessert. It's not that long to the next meal. They're going to be fine. They aren't going to starve themselves. So don't worry yourself about it too much if you end up with one of those random campers who refuses to eat. Sometimes it's just a control issue, and when they're like, okay, I can't control this, and then they're like, wow, I'm hungry, it usually doesn't happen again. At the same time, there's also a lot of strange foods at camp because we have other groups coming in to cook for us. They're not familiar with it. Just encourage them to taste stuff. If they don't want to eat it, that's fine, but at least encourage them to taste it.
And it's like family style, so I just thank the Lord that there's more for the rest of us. I'm just like, oh man, it's good to want to eat, so
Oh, dog.
forget that.
Yep.
I try to find the littlest girls when I go to the camp. You know, but I'm like, oh, there's much food. Let me see what's there.
That's what Dalvin did last year. He's like, man, I look for all the little girls and I sit with them so I can.
Oh, you don't want to eat? Okay, you don't want to eat?
Someone else has got that.
Piles it up.
Neil, you'll start reading through the tips for this one.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Tips on disciplines. Yeah, this is good. A lot of this stuff is not easy to, like, you can't just take care of it, but it is really helpful to just kind of have in mind. In poverty, discipline is about penance and forgiveness, not necessarily change. It is important to note that the approach to discipline advocated to you is to teach a separate set of behaviors. Many of the behaviors that campers bring with them are necessary to help them survive in their cities. So we're looking for both structure and choice as the two anchors for these things. This is often a behavior related to poverty. Laugh when disciplined, right? We've probably all experienced that if we've been here. A way to save face in the matriarchal intervention. Understand the reasons for the behaviors. Tell the students 3 or 4 other behaviors that would be more appropriate. Argue loudly with the teacher. Very participatory, and there's this trust for authority. There's a big one. Don't argue with the students. Use the 4-card sheet later in the document. That's going back to the discipline card. It's like, don't argue, say, look, man, when you're ready, I'll love to fill this out with you. Until then, I can wait or whatever. Angry response. Anger is based on fear. questioning what the fear is, loss of face, did they lose face, respond in the adult voice, which we'll talk about. When the students cool down, discuss other responses they could have had. Inappropriate or vulgar comments. Reliance on, this is kind of complicated, causal register, may not know formal register, whatever that means. Anyway, have campers generate or teach students other phrases they could have used to say the same thing. Like Kelly was saying, they learn through doing, not necessarily through understanding the whole thing. So, hey, why don't you try saying this, man? You know what I mean? Like, and then give them another phrase that they can say. Physically fight, necessary to survive. Stress that fighting is unacceptable at camp. Examine other options that campers could live with at camp other than fighting. And yeah, I just want to mention this too, but with certain things, whenever in doubt, you can always come to one of us. So, you know, you don't follow the full process of kids are swinging at each other, you know, kind of thing like that. Come right to us. Or even like a total, like, I'm just not moving, I don't care, don't touch me. You know, you can say like, look, I don't know what to do with this kid, you know, I guess that kind of stuff. But fighting's on someone else. Hands always on someone else. Poverty has heavy reliance on non-verbal data and touch. Allow them to draw or doodle, give them something else physical to do. Have them hold their hands behind their back when lying or standing. Give them as much to do with their hands as possible in a constructive way. Yeah. Cannot follow directions. Little procedural memory used in poverty. Sequence not used or value. This is again just clear communication. Write steps down for them. Have them write at the top of paper the steps they needed to finish do the task. Maybe have them practice procedural self-talk. That's probably the most likely one. I love doing this with kids. Like, all right, so what's the first thing we're going to do when we get in the cabin? You know, someone say, all right, we're going to get in the, what's the second thing we're going to do in the cabin? Okay, so what are we going to do again first when we get there? You know, so you do that a couple times. Like the kids, know they love that. You know, do the drill sergeant thing. So have them do that.
Along with that too, that one and the next one, they complete only part of a task. Those are two reasons our kids can tend to have a hard time with, you know, teen time 2 in the evening when we're doing mostly memory work and stuff. You tell one of our kids to sit down and memorize a verse, they have no clue how to do that. Sitting down and memorizing something is not a skill that comes naturally. It's got steps to it. You know, things that are logical to you, it's not logical to them. So that's an opportunity even on your team to be like, grab a couple kids and be like, okay, first, let's do this. Okay, let's repeat that part a few times. Okay, you guys have that. Let's do more of the verse now and kind of coach them through. What does it look like to memorize a verse? Because a lot of the kids that we have there will have never done that before. Or maybe not.
If students are disrespectful to you, don't be surprised. They have a lack of respect for authority in the system, sometimes for good reason, and may not know adults worthy of respect. Tell campers that disrespect is not a choice. Identify for campers the correct voice, tone, and word choice that are acceptable. This allows campers to practice. You can also do this through example in the way that you respond. Harm other campers, verbally or physically, kind of goes along with fighting. Hey, look, man, I know this might be something that you're used to, but that's not the way we do it here. You know, we're really trying to go God's way, and that doesn't involve that. You don't have to be aggressive, and give them, again, other options that they can choose. Cheat or steal, indicative of weak support system, weak role models, emotional resources. Use a metaphor story. I'm not sure if we're going to talk about that, it's kind of complicated. But you can also emphasize that behavior is illegal and not an option at camp. Again, give them other options. Hey man, we want you to have everything you need. We're not going to, we're not going to let you have anything that's not taken care of. Hey man, there's a much funner way to do that than having to cheat or steal. And talking incessantly. Yes. Build participatory activities into the lesson. So kids just won't be quiet. Again, so we can suggest something at times that need to be, suggest something else for them to do.
We already talked about participation of the camper, that section. That down at language of negotiation on page 7 says one of the biggest issues with students in poverty is the fact that many children in poverty must function as their own parents. They parent themselves and others, often their younger siblings. In many instances, they also may act as a parent to the adult in their own household. Inside everyone's head are 3 internal voices that guide the individual. These voices are the child voice, the adult voice, and the parent voice. They've talked about this a lot in this already, but this just explains that more. It's been observed that individuals who become their own parent quite young don't have an internal adult voice. They've never learned that. They've got a child voice and a parent voice, but not an adult voice. So it gives some examples there of the child voice, which usually is what you think of as like the whiny little kid. They're the center of their universe, just that attitude. The parent voice tends to be more like judgmental or authoritarian. Like, you do this, you do it now. Why did you do that? I can't believe you did that. But it's a direct, punitive, threatening, things like that. And then the parent voice, or the adult voice, is a lot more non-judgmental, a lot more patient. You might ask a lot of questions, things like that. It gives examples on the other side of things that would fall under each of those categories of voices. One example between like the parent voice and the adult voice that I was just thinking that I've done in the past, like, you need to get in line right now. Oh my goodness, why aren't you in line? That's very much parent voice. The adult voice on that would be more like, I expect everybody to be in line. I do this at day camps all summer. Like, I will let you in the I'll let this team in the building when everybody on the team is in one line and has their symbol in their hands. I'm not telling them what to do so much as I'm saying what I'm going to do and what I'm going to allow. And that usually works a lot better. A lot of times it asks questions. I think it's interesting that when you read scripture, this, like even in the very beginning in Genesis 3, that's how God